I've not been a fan of this man's. I don't like how he talks to us. I don't like how he talks to the nation. But that being a character on television is a lot different than being the president of the United States, because what you can't do, and what they did for years, which is why people got up and said, you can't talk to me like this anymore. You can't talk about me like this anymore.
Donald Trump thought he had the media on a leash. He believed the past could be buried, that old interviews would stay locked away, that loyalists like Pete Hegseth would never break rank. But on live national television, Whoopi Goldberg pressed play and the facade cracked wide open. Forgotten tapes rolled. The lies weren't just exposed, they detonated. Trump's mask didn't just slip, it shattered the moment. The footage aired, his composure dissolved into visible panic, and Pete, the man once willing to take bullets for Trump, now sits in a silence that's louder than any betrayal. This wasn't a routine media ambush, this was the reckoning. What Whoopi revealed didn't just poke holes in his story, it tore the whole thing down. And for the first time, even his diehards felt the ground shake beneath them.
At that rally should be enough to shake folks awake, because he's talking about you. All of you. All of you. He's talking about you. It's us. He's not gonna, say, oh, you're with a white guy, I'm gonna keep you from being deported. No, he's gonna deport you and put the white guy with someone else. The man is out there.
Trump had always survived on selective memory, pulling out hazy, self-flattering stories about old interviews, warm welcomes, and celebrity admiration as proof of his universal appeal. But this time, Whoopi wasn't playing along. She came armed with receipts, actual footage. And it didn't match the myth. One clip in particular cut the legs out from under his story. Trump, 2011 not 2015, as he'd bragged, sitting stiffly on The View, no confetti, no standing ovation. Just tight smiles, lukewarm applause, and the kind of polite tension that fills a room when no one really wants you there. Whoopi didn't need to shout, she just stared into the camera, exhausted by years of his distortions, and stiffly on The View, no confetti, no standing ovation. Just tight smiles, lukewarm applause, and the kind of polite tension that fills a room when no one really wants you there. Whoopi didn't need to shout, she just stared into the camera, exhausted by years of his distortions, and
making fun of him is punching down now, because it's just too easy, So this is not our focus. Our focus is making sure we get the right person in the right job to lead the country out of this malaise that we're all in. Everybody's pissed. All the time. People are they're walking down the street and you can see it, and people don't understand why they're feeling like this, because that's not them. In part, it's what we've been what they call it, trauma. Yeah. We've been in trauma
for
years now, and I'm hoping that with this next election, we will have a breather and get back to the people's business.
In a stunning reversal, every smiling photo and cordial exchange Trump had hoarded as proof of affection began to crumble in real time. Whoopi didn't come for him with rage, she dismantled him with precision. She reminded the audience that the warmth he remembered wasn't friendship at all. It was Barbara Walters' rule, treat all guests with respect. That wasn't admiration, it was protocol. Then she went for the heart of his ugliest myth. When Trump pushed the racist birther conspiracy against Obama, Whoopi hadn't blinked. She called it exactly what it was: blatant racial bias. And then on national television, she asked the question that had floated in whispers but rarely in daylight. Has any white president ever been asked to show their birth certificate? The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was damning. In that moment, Trump's years of revisionist history hit a wall, and this time, it didn't budge.
He's also, can I just mention, I usually don't respond to him when he comes after me. It feels like punching down, but he keeps lying about me, and I do want to correct this. He keeps referring to, I wrote him secret love letters of some sort. I don't write love letters to dictators or aspiring dictators like Donald Trump did to Kim Jong-un. The only letter I ever wrote him was a public resignation letter that was directed toward the Trump administration speaking about my time. Otherwise, CNN fact-checked, he lied about my title and any other things. He's clearly very focused on this show because we keep calling him out, and we're going to keep doing it.
He said in that clip, every president provides their birth certificate. No, they don't, but do you know what they do provide? They provide their taxes and their medical records. And that is something that he lost track of.
And you know, Barack Obama says about him all the time, he's just this crybaby with this complex of victimhood, right? Here he is, this billionaire, supposedly, this, that. All he does is bitch and moan and complain and whine and nag.
He's a very small man. He's a very small man.
Fortunately, I don't know how small he is, but I know he's not big enough to be president.
Yeah.
But this time, Whoopi wasn't alone. As the segment ignited, her co-hosts closed ranks Lisa Farrah Griffin, Sunny Hostin, and Anna Navarro stepping in like a firing squad armed with facts. Elisa, once inside Trump's own White House, cut down one of his favorite fantasies that she'd written him secret love letters. She set the record straight. The only letter she'd ever given him was her public resignation, calling him unfit for office. No hearts, no poems. Just a political obituary in black and white. Then came the hammer blows, Trump's open admiration for Kim Jong-un. His pattern of coddling strongmen while sneering at democratic norms. The irony was acid. This wasn't just fact-checking, this was demolition. Brick by brick, they tore apart the foundation of his myth. And every minute it aired, the message hit harder: truth isn't just surviving, it's broadcasting live.
No, I've hired Whoopi to work for me as a comedian before this stuff, and a long time ago. And I went. And, you know, I'm not particularly shy about what I hear. Her mouth was so foul. Every word out of her mouth was like the F word, that this. I was with a group of people, like sort of nice people, and we had to leave. She was so filthy dirty, disgusting. Half the place left. I said I'd never hire her again, but she was so dirty. Every word was filthy dirty, and I left. And then I see her sitting about, oh, Whoopi.
What stunned viewers wasn't just the collapse of Trump's story, it was the sudden silence of one of his loudest former defenders, Pete Hegseth. Once trusted enough to be pulled from Fox News and placed near the Pentagon's inner circle, Hegseth had gone quiet. The breaking point came during Trump's ill-fated military parade plan, when Trump reportedly exploded, "I made you Secretary of Defense, and you give me." This furious over getting only 3 tanks. Soon after, Hegseth dodged questions about a weapons pause, mumbled vague legal jargon, and was caught leaking war decisions to his own brother. While Whoopi's receipts dismantled Trump's revisionist history showing polite civility, not adoration, Hegseth's retreat underscored the deeper truth. Trump wasn't just losing the media war, he was losing the loyal soldiers who once carried his flag.
Now, you know we can never go too long in this segment without featuring the work of the ladies of The View. Each and every episode showcases just how broken the hosts are, including the alpha female of the pack, Whoopi, who could not even bring herself to say Trump's name without spitting. Gross.
I think it would be remiss of us to not say, Joe Biden knows how to do this. Yes. He knows how to do this. He's quite good at this. And, you know, you can't refute anything with him because he just, when I say him, I mean...
Rambles.
Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just...
Can I mention one thing?
They're so bitter, broken, and miserable. Not sure why that makes me smile, but it does.
And then, like a director watching his lead actor walk off set, Trump saw Pete Hegseth, his once reliable military mouthpiece, fade into a fog of evasions. Pressed about who had authorized certain military moves, Pete dodged with a mumbled, "I would know if a decision was made," a non-answer that landed like a confession. For a president who demanded blind loyalty, the hedging was unforgivable, behind closed doors. Insiders say Trump erupted, fuming over how a man he'd saved from scandal could suddenly turn spineless. Worse, whispers emerged that Pete had bypassed Trump entirely, texting his own brother critical war updates while leaving the president out of the loop. For Trump, it wasn't just disloyalty, it was a mutiny inside his own castle.
You got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you.
So here's the actual appearance. Watch.
Donald Trump is a billionaire, a real estate mogul, and a television star. But does he really want to add President of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to. Please let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump. Whenever you're on with us, we're very happy. We love it.
So Barbara was her usual polite self, as she was with every guest. But did I look warm and fuzzy? Was that a warm and fuzzy welcome from her? But because I respect Barbara, you know, she said be polite to guests no matter what. Yes. And for the most part, I got through. I did it like I do now. But here's where they really messed up. Watch.
They're talking about you in such a favorable light.
Honey, Joe, I think you missed this part. Take a look.
I want him to show his birth certificate. There's something on that birth certificate that he doesn't like.
Oh my God. That is just the worst thing that he was 3 pounds.
Donnie, I love you. I'm telling you.
I love you too. I think that's the biggest pile of dog mess I've heard in ages.
The question is that why not show it, right? There's something on his birth certificate he doesn't want to show.
It's not because he's black.
Let him show. Has nothing to do with it. Any
white president asked to be shown the birth certificate. When you become a president, you know that he's American. I'm sorry, that's BS.
As the View segment rolled on, the tone shifted from fact-checking to what felt like a political intervention. Joy Behar, usually the first to crack a joke, dropped the smile and delivered her verdict. He's not big enough to be president. It hit like a hammer. The audience didn't laugh, they nodded. Sunny Hostin followed, dismantling Trump's ego with surgical precision. Being a TV character is not the same as leading a nation, she said, each word stripping away another layer of the facade. Then Ana Navarro landed the quiet kill shot. He's just a crybaby with a victim complex. No shouting, no theatrics, just truth. Calm and undeniable, slicing through years of propaganda. For the first time in years, the Trump myth wasn't just challenged, it was dismantled by people who knew. His playbook, chaos, had always been his shield, drowning out criticism in noise. But this time, the noise belonged to his critics, and it was deafening. Jimmy Kimmel added fuel to the fire, exposing Trump's tantrum over a birthday parade that featured only 3 tanks. At first, it sounded too absurd to be real until insiders confirmed it. Trump had berated Pete Hegseth for the pathetic optics, demanding a show of dominance, not a scaled-back celebration. Then came the Iran strike scandal. Congress wasn't informed until after the jets had landed. Pete called it compliance, everyone else called it what it was, deception. And with that, Trump's governing style built on impulse, performance, and spectacle collapsed under the cold weight of reality.
As it turns out, I was filthy. I was filthy. And stand on that fact. I have always been filthy. And you knew that when you hired me. A headline, babe, at your casino, which I might have continued to play had you not run it into the ground.
Exactly.
By the close of the segment, even Trump's loudest boast fell flat. Other nations are kissing my ass, he bragged, chest puffed, but the words rang hollow. Whoopi didn't flinch. What plan? She asked. What are we doing? Her voice didn't carry anger, it carried exhaustion. Because while Trump blasted out all caps tweets and demanded loyalty like oxygen, the real world burned. War zones raged, aid shipments vanished, and lives slipped through the cracks. And then came the question that silenced the room: what does America stand for anymore? It wasn't a jab, it wasn't a soundbite. It was a plea raw and unpolished for clarity in an era where truth is negotiable and accountability is extinct. The lights faded, the cameras cut, but one truth lingered: Trump had finally stumbled onto a stage he couldn't dominate. And this time, it wasn't the media or the critics that undid him, it was himself.
I have a personal legal note.
Yes.
Donald Trump, I want to thank you for personally telling so many lies and committing so many alleged crimes and providing us with material on a daily basis. You help us do our jobs, and I'm so appreciative. Because of people like you, a former prosecutor and legal expert can become a fixture on a show like this. And again, I'm so grateful. I admit I may not have spent as much time in a courtroom as you have.
That's a good one.
I was also recognized with a Special Achievement Award by the Department of Justice. You remember the Department of Justice, right? It's the agency that's been pursuing you for decades. And like Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, I've had a history of prosecuting sex offenders.
Uh-oh.
So thank you for keeping people like us in business. And as for dumb questions, you're always welcome to come here and answer some, if sitting so close to a prosecutor won't make you nervous. I'll even give you a free View mug, not to be confused though with a mugshot, because that's your area.
As Trump scrambled to claw back control of the narrative, he unleashed one of his most contradictory lines yet. Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free. The delivery was straight-faced, the irony deafening. Because mere breaths later, he was celebrating the overturning of Roe v. Wade, a decision that stripped millions of women of reproductive freedom. Whoopi didn't need to shout, she didn't even need a monologue. She just rolled the tape, and America saw the hypocrisy play out in real time. You cannot claim to protect women while dismantling their autonomy. You cannot call yourself their defender while applauding the erasure of decades of hard-won rights. But this episode wasn't just about hypocrisy, it was about erosion. Trump's inner circle, the loyal foot. For a man once loaded as Secretary of Defense, the transformation was glaring. Pete no longer looked like an architect of Trump's power plays. He looked like an unwilling witness to chaos. And Trump, ever attuned to betrayal, saw it. That night, he didn't just lose an aide. He lost one of the last shields protecting him from the weight of institutional collapse. The fallout had already begun.
The lying, his lying is monumental, as we all know. And even people who are Trump supporters, watch this. Just watch this. This is good.
I have a hard time doing it to them because I'm basically a truthful person. But and frankly,
basically, and I am a natural redhead who's 29 years old. Okay, I mean the jokes just come so easily.
And it wasn't just Pete, it was a pattern. The myth of uncheckable loyalty that Trump wore like armor was fraying in plain sight. The View's panel read him like a well-worn script. And Navarro dissected his endless chase for headlines and victimhood, like a reality show star desperate to keep his storyline alive. Joy Behar mocked his claim of being a truthful person while his own clips unraveled light after Lee. Sunny Hostin demolished the illusion of presidential stature, reminding the country that being loud isn't the same as being right. These weren't attacks born of hatred, they were verdicts born of exhaustion. Years of misinformation, contradiction, and chaos had finally condensed into one undeniable truth. Trump wasn't being rejected by the other side. He was being abandoned by those who once stood beside him.
Trump actually is one of the people who has a filthier mouth than Whoopi Goldberg. He says words every other word when he's not on television and trained himself to do otherwise, but also he called you a loser. And I would just note, you're an EGOT, he lost the last election and can't admit it. Calling you dumb, he does not have a law degree, you do.
That's true.
But listen, he's triggered by women.
His professor said he was the dumbest student he ever had.
Yeah. He's always been triggered by women when they call him out.
Yeah.
It's why he has such a challenge with women in this election, and why I think they're going to be a deciding factor in when he loses.
Yeah.
And there's a reason his campaign doesn't want him to keep doing these rallies. A, he can't fill them the way that he used to, but they also hurt him because the more people hear the crazy, the meanness, the name calling, they're just over it. It's exhausting. It's not what
They
we want
average
from the president.
82 minutes compared to 45 minutes in 2016. They're tracing with numbers and statistics his decline.
Even in the final moments, Trump clung to illusions, global leaders begging for deals, nations kissing his ass, promises of protecting women. But as Whoopi Goldberg calmly rolled the footage, each claim collapsed under its own weight. Then came the whisper quieter than a headline, but far more dangerous. Pete Hegseth, once loyal to the last syllable, had begun sending defense updates to his brother bypassing Trump entirely. Loyalty had limits, and in that instant, Trump's power didn't just crack, it fractured. When your own appointees choose silence or family over you, the writing isn't on the wall, it's flashing in neon across every network in America. That day, The View wasn't just a talk show, it was a reckoning. Whoopi, Joy, Sunny, Annie, and even Pete held up a mirror. What stared back was a man unraveling under the weight of his own lies. Fact-checking had become unmasking ego stripped bare, theater mistaken for leadership. The hugs were gone, the loyalty was leaking. The truth, though delayed, had arrived. And when Whoopi asked, "What does America stand for anymore?" the silence from Trump's end said more than any tweet ever could. But here's the twist, this story isn't over. Because if even Pete is walking away, who's next?